technical issues. So, welcome to my live show. All the problems of a live show. Sometimes I just don't know that I've got things set up right, and well, hey, starts meaning to go on, let's ruin everything. So, you might notice this week that we have some music. The music is a new thing that I have learned this week. If it is too distracting, or if it's not too loud, or if it's too quiet, or whatever, then just drop it in the comments, and I can adjust it or get rid of it. I just thought that as it's going to be me this week, because we don't have Kyle this week, I thought that would be nice to have a little bit of something in the background there. So, it is just me this week. Kyle has been back to work, and he's been very, very busy, and he's just really, really tired. And he said to me in a phone call earlier on, he's like, I just can't do it. I'm just so tired. And hey man, you go run, save yourself. Go do the show by yourself. And I was just like, okay, cool, no issues. So I've got loads of stuff to play around with. I want to do something very, very different than what I was doing the last couple of weeks. So the last couple of weeks I've been doing Games Workshop Spore Mines. Took me weeks to get this stuff done, and I just got a little bit bored of doing the same old miniatures. And this isn't just about Games Workshop stuff, it's about anything. It doesn't even have to be models for all I mind, really. You could be painting a canvas or anything at home if you just want a bit of company, and that's what this program's for. But a little bit about some developments that have occurred with EZ8 over this week. I'm really quite excited to inform everyone that we're growing as a studio, as a community. I've been talking with some friends over in America, friends who I've made through this show. So that's Ruben. If you're watching right now, Ruben, thanks for all your support. Ruben runs or co-runs Hostile Galaxy magazines. I talk about them every week because they're really, really helpful. And I was talking to Ruben just a couple of days ago on a video call, and we've decided to collaborate further than we normally do. So what we've got now is we've got a shared group page on Facebook, which is just another means at your disposal to kind of connect and reach out to other people, other hobbyists within the community. And because that's based in the States, and I'm over here in the UK, we're going to get the potential to link with, almost limitless amounts of people, hundreds of thousands, hopefully. That might be a bit long term though. So if you're interested in that, it is on the EZ8 Facebook page. So you can go over to there and then just search for the Hostile Galaxy, and you will probably find the community page there. And that's just, I'm going to be sharing my stuff through it. Ruben and the guys at Hostile Galaxy are going to be sharing all their stuff through it as well. And you guys can just share your photos or questions or just generally chat with people through there. And that's something that we can connect with as time goes on. And hopefully it will become something really, really big. And I'm really, really hyped about it. So thanks to Ruben. Thank you very much for all your continuing ongoing support. So what am I going to be doing tonight? Well, I wanted to do something a little bit different than Games Workshop stuff. So I've had a whole bunch of models just sat on the side waiting to go. I've got 3 different scales of Second World War tanks. I love tanks. I've only just been kind of getting into them in the last couple of years. And even just putting a model together for tonight's show, I've learned some new things, or found some new things out there, that I have to go and learn about. So the miniature that I'm going to be painting is a little tiger tank that comes from the game Tanks. Aptly named. I'll get it on the webcam in a minute so you can see it properly. I went to a convention about a year ago, just over a year ago now, maybe a bit longer. Doesn't feel that long anyway. And it was down in Plymouth, down in the southwest of the UK, and we met loads of different people down there. Me and my dad, so that's Jeff from Purple Lion Creations, and some friends all went down there. And there was no way I was going to walk away from a show without buying something. So I bought this game. What I like about this game is that it's really, really easy to play. Some games can last just like a couple of minutes. Other games, they can go on for quite some time. But it's all 15mm scale. So the models are really simple. They're quite affordable, and they're really easy to store. So if you're like me and you just can't help but buy lots of different games, then this one stacks away smaller. So in this box, this isn't a reveal or anything like that. So I'm just going to kind of quickly go through it. You get some dice, you get some playing cards and things, and there's like loads of different sprues in here to make different tanks, because this set comes with rules, the dice, etc., and enough to kind of have a go with a couple of little Sherman tanks and a Panther. So you got something to kind of play with straight away, and that was about, oh, it was just under 20 quid, so I think it's about £18. And I put the little tanks together, and I thought they were absolutely cracking. So I bought a couple more tanks when I was down at the show as well. So I've got a Panther, I've got a Panzer, a couple of Shermans, and then of course I went to the Tank Museum a little while ago to go and celebrate my dad's 60th birthday, and I bought myself a Tiger. And my dad also bought me a Sherman Firefly, which is one of my faves, as a thank you for taking him down there. This one's still in the box, still yet to kind of play around with that one. We'll talk about that one a bit later on. But today, if I take you over to the workbench, here we go. No Kyle, so it's just me talking by myself. People coming into the comments there. Luke, thank you for letting me know that my microphone wasn't working. Yeah, kind of put me right off at the beginning of the show, but this is what this show's all about. It's just humble and raw. I'm glad that you can all hear me now. Kyle's there. Kyle is here in spirit, so hi Kyle, cheers. And then obviously there's Jeff, that's my dad. Thanks for supporting, and I can see that we've got loads of other viewers also there. And I'm going to talk about more about the viewers and how that's all expanding as the show goes on. Don't want to blow all my content and run out of things to say. So let me go over to the workbench. Here we go. So, I've also learned how to zoom a little bit with my webcam and focus a little bit, so I can adjust that as it's going on. So, if there's something that you want to see more of, hit it in the comments in the live chat, and I can, interact with you directly. And if you can't see something or it's out of focus, or you want, a closer zoom, whatever, let me know, and I can actually adjust it on the fly, which is kind of cool. So, this is the box I bought down at Bovington Tank Museum. I went through the shop, and they just had everything that you could ever possibly want, and I'm a bit of an impulse buyer, and I had to walk through that shop 4 times going around it to go like, okay, I'm going to buy just one thing, and I bought this one. A nice little package. You can see exactly what you're getting inside, which is really, really cool. Some really simple instructions, and I made him just the other day. Boop, there he is, little Tiger tank. Absolutely fantastic little model. And I just like them because I've got Tigers. I've got a 28mm Tiger over here. This is from Bolt Action. It's a beautiful model to play. You can see the size difference between the two scales there. I know it's the same thing, but because it's smaller, it's got a lot of charm to it, and I've really enjoyed putting that one together. It only took me about an hour, and I was just taking my time, watching some YouTube stuff at the same time. So I thought, if I come too close, I can't see it in the lights. I'll bring my light up here. Here we go. So there are a couple of things with this particular Tiger that are new to me. And if you know your tanks, then let's get a conversation going, because I thought I knew quite a bit, but apparently I don't know an awful lot. So on this one, what's new to me is this particular feature. If I point with a paintbrush, running beside the exhausts here, and then these little pipes that kind of run just to the back of the turret here. Now I don't know what they are for. I think that might be some sort of dust exhaust for when these ones were being used in Africa. Oh, got someone else joining in. Dave Lester, evening, with a thumbs up there. Hi Dave, thanks for joining. So yeah, I don't know what that's for. If you know what that's for, I haven't actually done my research since I put this one together. I thought I'd just use it as a bit of a conversation getter. So if you know what that's for, let me know, because I'm fairly certain it is to do with getting dust out of the engine, or keeping dust out of the engine when they're in the sandy conditions. Also, on the top of this turret here, this is probably something quite minor, but it has no gun ring. There were actually options for different turrets. You could have turrets open or closed, and then there was this one. And like with the 28mm one over here from Bolt Action, you can see on the top you've got this kind of ring just beside the cupola door, and that there is where the big machine gun would be able to swivel around, and that's absent on this particular turret. And I chose it because it was on the box, so I just tried to make it as faithful to this one as possible. But I also thought, I've done loads of guns on tanks before. I'll do something a little bit different. It's just the turret, who really cares that much? I did make one mistake with it, and that is on the sides of the turret here. There's a little bit. Oh, there's a little bit of spare track. That was very common, if not almost factory presented. A spare bit of track, and a great place to put it is on the side of your turret, because it provides the people in there with a little bit more protection. And I started to put a little bit on this side here, as the instructions said, but I really struggled to get it between the little details here. If I can just bring it in closer, you can see that this little detail here, this is like a little pistol hatch. So it's like a little hatchway that would open up, and the commander or the loader would be able to kind of just drop that down, and they could shoot through it, talk through it, most likely chuck empty shell casings out of it. And then just a little bit further over, there's another little port just here, which is even smaller. That one's not like a door, that might just actually be like a little viewport, just behind these smoke launchers just there. Anyway, I put this piece of track on here, and it was like 0.5 millimeter, and every time I tried to push it into place, it would just pop off. So I went back to the picture, and even though it says it in the instructions, hey, you should probably have a go at putting some tracks here, on the picture on this side, those tracks are absent, and they've just got the number on there. So I don't know if that was like a design flaw or anything like that in what they've done. Maybe I just wasn't doing it properly, so I decided to remove it, and I've got a little bit of glue fuzz left on there, but I didn't think that was so bad. They're 15 millimeter. They're tiny little things, and people aren't going to be inspecting them that closely. What I did really like about it is that there were two sets of side skirts. There were some undamaged ones, and then there were these ones, and they are all buckled. And I was showing some people in some photographs the other day, go, look at this, look at this. People were going like, oh man, it looks like the mold's all bad. I'm like, no. You get to choose whether you want battered up skirts, because if you don't know much about Second World War tanks, the Tigers or any of the German tanks that had these, because they were so flimsy, they just got ripped off really quickly and easily. They're just there to help control the amount of rubbish that kind of gets churned up in the tracks. So I opted for some buckled ones on there. Yeah, I liked it. I like Tigers. I think they're a really nice tank, but I think they're a really nice model to kind of paint. But this one isn't the only one in my collection. I have a couple, like I say. I've got my Panther, which is a beast of a tank in real life. And I've also got my Panzer IV, which is my favourite. I absolutely love the Panzer IV. I don't know why, I just think it's a smart little tank. And these ones I've actually painted up already. Got a cat hair on that one. They're not finished. I've still got a little bit that I'd like to do with them. They're missing decals, so the icons and the numbers and things, because they don't come with those in these little boxes. They're only about £7 or £8. So you have to get them from somewhere else. And I have found some, but I wasn't too happy with the quality of them, so I'm still looking around for that. There's some details, like this little axe on the side there, that are still yet to paint, but for all intents and purposes in this scale that's pretty much done. And then there's the Panther. If I hold these side by side, you get an idea. This is your main tank. This is what was the backbone of the Second World War for the German forces, and it was a real workhorse. But then there's this Panther, and the size is unbelievable. It's actually bigger in some respects to the Tiger. They look very similar from the sides. Cat has been everywhere. Here we go. So if you look on the side there, they're actually quite similarly sized. Get it in frame, Dan. But when you're standing in front of them, the height of the Panther it's like a house. It's enormous, and that's not even by a long stretch the largest tank in the German arsenal. It really isn't. And I also got, obviously because it came with the box, the tanks game, I've got a couple of these little Shermans. Again, still haven't got any little Allied stars on them yet, but I'm just looking around for some little 15mm decals to put on there. As you can see, I've got some numbers from the sets that I did have that they looked alright, and I just matched that one to this 28mm one that I painted, where I just put C19 on the side. So I did C19 on this one because, little brother, and then numerical order, right? C20. So yeah, that was that. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to paint up this Tiger, and I'm going to do something a little bit different that I don't normally do, and I'm going to use my airbrush. I haven't used my airbrush for a little while, properly. I use it for doing a lot of this. Why I've really got it is I do a lot of like just base work. So if I've got the whole I've got like a horde army, like all my Tyranids, and I've got like 40 or 50 models to paint yellow, get the airbrush out, do it in half an hour rather than 3 days, because as we all know, I take a long time to get things done. So well, I've got my airbrush here. If anyone out there is an airbrush user, I'd like to know. I'd like to know what you do. I'm fairly novice with an airbrush, and I've had this one for a couple of years, but I'm still learning. Well, you learn everything all the time, don't you? But I like it. I'm getting better at it. I've learned a lot painting tanks. So I'm going to be painting it with a set of modulation colours from AK Interactive. I don't know an awful lot about the company. I just know that they produce absolutely stellar paints in various forms. This is an acrylic set, and they do acrylics, they do enamels and oil-based things as well. And I've got loads of different washes and stains and weatherings and things. This is all enamel range here from AK. They're very, very similar, even in their branding, actually, very similar to Ammo by Miquimines. I hope I pronounced that right. I just went with AK because it was the one that I investigated first. I could actually find minimal differences as a consumer between the two brands. And basically, a modulation set is one colour, and this is what we were talking about last week with the colour wheel and colour theory. It's essentially one colour. This is Dunkelgelb, which is German for essentially dark yellow, and it just goes from dark shadows, and it just increasingly gets brighter and brighter and brighter, so it works all the way up into the highlights. And basically, there's lots of different techniques and methods that you can use this for. Some are really realistic, others are quite cartoonish, but they can give you some really fantastic effects. The best effects that I got with this was from the Sherman with the olive colours, because I don't just have Dunkelgelb, I also have US Olive Drab, where you get the 6 colours in there as well. And I've also got the German Panzer Grey, because I've got a couple of German pieces here in the grey, and I've also got them in I've also got the olive ones as well. So today I'm just going to be having a little go and showing you what I do to get some effects out of these, and hopefully it will go really, really well. I haven't used my airbrush for a little while, so it's it seems to be clean. Because I learned how to use it, I don't know if I've abused it in its early years, so I think it might need a needle change in there. Who knows? Right, let's see what people are talking about, because I can see that there's some chit chat going on in there. Kyle is asking, is anyone else painting this evening? And Lucas replied with, like normal, some SOB, some Sisters of Battle from the Games Workshop range. Cool. If you are out there painting, do let me know. I want to know what you're painting. This is a painting club after all. It's not just to sit there watching me. It's about getting your models painted. So if you've got the need to paint some models, let's get it going, and tell us all about it, so we can kind of get this done together as a community. A sip from my tea, which is not the best tasting tea I've ever made. Stringent. So I still got my palettes, and I've still got my brushes and things, and I've got a load of white spirit here as well in case I get onto enamels. I always like to be armed with everything I've got, but because I'm going to be spraying, I want to make sure that I'm going to cover my my work surface down. So this might be a bit crude and rudimentary, but let's see what happens. I like to use, because I get loads of it buying stuff, especially lately from Amazon, is all that paper packaging. So I just thought I would get a piece and just fold it across the table. But if it's going to be in the way, then I've just got a couple of pieces of paper down here. Yep, that's what I'm going to move to. Normally when I'm working in my living room, I've got a big piece of Amazon delivery paper, and it's just, you can just cover surfaces with it easily, and it doesn't matter. But white might be a little bit better for this. Anyway, okay, cool. So I'm not going to bother priming this model. I know there might be some people out there going like, what are you doing? But when you spray paints anyway, they have a slightly more positive charge. And I'm not going to go too much into the science of it because I just don't know that much. But I do know that when they got more positive charge, when they come out of the airbrush, they adhere a little bit better than you would be by brushing them. So they're a little bit more durable. So it's not going to take me too long to get through most of the work on this, and then I can just secure it with a nice little matte varnish at the end. It's already got the base color that's kind of there because they're designed to be made almost straight out of the box. So you know, it doesn't really matter. I've had no end of luck with the other ones. I'm not prime those as well. If it was a bigger scale, then I probably would. So I'm just going to work my way up through shadow and then get brighter and brighter and brighter, and I'm just going to pick where I want the shadows to be. So all I'm going to do with this darkest colour that I've got here, which is Dunkelgelb shadow, dark yellow shadow, is I'm just going to pick areas where I want the darkest colours to be. Now there's lots of different techniques and theories, etc., about how you want to apply that. I just basically like to go, you know, as normal as you might think, without trying to like do any kind of special effects. So I'm just going to go like probably underneath the skirts, majority underneath. At the back, I like to make sure that my tanks are a bit brighter from the front. I'm not very good at OSL, which if you don't know what that means is object source lighting. That is something that I'm learning, but I think I'm going to do that more with figures until I can apply it to vehicles. So I just like to make the back and the lower parts of the tank darker, and then kind of gradually work my way forwards. And then I just kind of make it up as I go along, really, and as long as it looks nice, then that's cool. And I like to keep my little tanks quite clean, so I'm not going to make them really grubby or really, really dirty like I did my larger tanks. What people are saying here, we've got Adrian. Hi Adrian, nice to see you again there, mate. Just chilling tonight. He did finish my first 8 Angels of Blood earlier, though. Of course, Adrian actually put some photos up in the Facebook channel earlier on of his Khorne Berserkers, of a Night Titan, the Night Pilot, which is amazing. I really like that model, and you're right, it does look like someone that we know. And what else did you have on there? You put up loads of photos, man, but it's nice to see that you got some stuff done, and I hope that you got the inspiration to get that stuff done, or at least the motivation from this channel, because that's what we're about here. Dave says he's cooking at the moment. Mellowbrook says, remember, tea does not equal brush washing water. No, you're right, but it probably tastes the same. I've made this one quite stringent. And Kyle, who isn't with us right now, is still painting. He says, I am just doing some miniature shopping now to start my crusade force. Yeah, because we were talking last week, weren't we, about the new 40k rules, and that we're really interested in the crusade rules for it. So you start off with a really, really small force. Right, I'm just going to put a few drops of this darker colour in here, and what I'm going to do, if you're new to airbrushing, then this might be really cool. So just put a few drops in here. Bring my light in a bit closer so you can see. I've got some airbrush in there. Even though these paints are designed for airbrush, you can use your normal brush with them as well. You just want to make sure that it's going to flow through nice and smoothly through your airbrush. So airbrush thinner, you can get flow enhancers as well. I just put like maybe a drop in there. I've only got a little bit in there, every painter has their preferred ratios. So you know, do you want to put like one drop of thinner to 5 or 6 paint? And every paint's different. Even the colours are different as well. And then I started to just get a little brush and just mix it in there, because sometimes you just kind of spraying away and all of a sudden it just kind of comes out just wet, and you go like, oh, that's just thinner. There's no paint there. So mix it up while it's in the hopper. Cool. I've got a little thing of water just on the side there. So don't just spray straight onto the model, and then just give it a little. Cool. Yeah, that's coming out. You can see that's really quite dark. That's way darker than what the colour that we're expecting. If I compare that to my little Panzer IV, bring it into shot again, Dan. Nice. So yeah, Jeanette's come in. Evening, Jeanette. Thank you. Yeah, I've got some. It's really nice to have regular viewers, and that support is wonderful. So thanks for coming along. Right, so I'm just gonna get practicing because it's been a little while since I've used the airbrush. The best place to start is on the bottom, because if there's a blockage that I need to clean in here and I spray it and it goes wrong on the tank, then that's the place least people are going to be looking for. So I'm gonna double action trigger on this one because it's quite a nice airbrush. So I can just push down for air and nothing comes out, and I can pull back to increase the flow of paint. So it's just about finding that happy medium, and you don't want to be going in heavy. So just making some passes, and it doesn't matter if I get the wrong places at the moment because I'm going to work over it a little bit later anyway. That's fine. And I am one of those people that doesn't wear gloves when I'm using the airbrush because I like the visceral feel of it all. If you can hear that noise in the background, that is my compressor for the airbrush. Again, I'm not really into the whole tutorial thing. I can do it if people want to know more. So if you're like, hey, can you do some stuff about the airbrush? I'll do a whole show just on like using an airbrush and the things that I've learned. You know, the things that you need. If you want a basic setup, if you want a professional setup, then you know, I'm not the font of knowledge, but I can certainly advise you. So if that's what you want, then hey, upvote me. That's fine. Yeah, I'll do that. I'm also going to use this colour because it's basically a dark brown. I'm going to use it as the base for the tracks. Now, here's a little tip that I learned while I was researching tank colours, and I learned this through AK as well, is that the smaller the scale, the lighter you want. So because I'm doing these 15mm tanks, I try to concentrate more on doing lighter colours than I do darker ones. So again, I'm just trying to, it takes a little while just to kind of get that steady flow, and I got a little bit of the nerves I think because I'm on telly. There we go. I can just get it. Oh, a bit too heavy there. It's got a bit shiny, but I was able to see it, so I stopped. What I really like about the airbrush, especially in this early stage, is it's just going on thin, which is one of those reasons why I like to do all my base layers on any model that I'm doing with the airbrush. There we go. Just get it into all those recesses later that might come up later on. And of course the airbrush is ideal for getting into those little soft spots as well. So just going to run it over the tracks there. There we go. And then I'm just going to hit the inside of the tracks where all these wheels are. Inside here, there's a lot of wheels. Do you know, I was actually looking at wheels on Tiger tanks and Panther tanks the other day. I find the engineering of the old-fashioned tanks really quite interesting. Is the amount of engineering that went into the Tigers and the Panthers. One of the reasons why the German assault in the Second World War came to a stop is just because they couldn't produce the tanks fast enough. It looks like the Tiger has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wheels, but actually it has about 36. Because that's just the outer layer. As you're going through the depth of the tracks, there's actually 3 rows, and then you've got the drive wheel at the front, and then you've got the guide wheel or jockey wheel at the back. That's not really kind of counted as the main wheels, that are like the load-bearing wheels. It's only the front ones that apply the force, like cars. You know, the driver's often in the front wheels. So if something went wrong with your wheels or your tracks, it would take you about half a day just to sort it out. That's where the American tanks and the British tanks, especially the American ones, the Shermans, could be done in a fraction of the time. So I'm just trying to get that paint now. If this was a bigger model, I would have put this together in component pieces, so I'd have taken the tracks away from it so I could get in there. But it's such a small model to see where I'm trying to get the paint now up and in the skirt. If you're going to notice that there's no paint in that area, you're getting really up close with it, so it doesn't really bother me that much. These are just really fun, happy models, and the reason I really like it, I suppose, is just because it's just fun. It's just a fun little thing. And like today's show, it's a nice break from all the other models that I've got, and I've got loads. And these little tanks, they just bring me so much happiness. Oh, I love tanks. Ask anyone who shares this house with me. You doing tanks tonight, Danny? Yeah, I'm doing tanks tonight. Okay, cool. I don't know what it is about tanks either that I like. You think about what a tank actually is, what it's designed for. It's not very nice. Oh, I get that. But there is a beauty in the machine, and I suppose that's similar in some ways. I've said this before, like someone might appreciate or admire a car, perhaps. I know what tanks were for, and that's not cool. I don't promote that at all. But it's a hell of a piece of machinery. And I say I was fortunate enough to see Tiger 131 in operation at Bovington Tank Museum. It's a beast. So it was in the museum, so we could go and have a look at it, and kind of go up and touch it and go, ooh, Tiger 131. That was the Tiger that was featured in Fury. And then as we were walking around the rest of the exhibit, the whole museum started shaking, and it was really shaking, and it was loud, and it was squeaking and cracking, and it was all sorts. And we're like, what is that? People were like questioning around, and I was like, oh, I know what that is. And then they were wheeling this beast out of the museum. It is, you can see all the videos of it that you like until you're blue in the face, until you're there and you get to see what this machine is. It is something else. Go there. It doesn't cost an awful lot of money, and you can your tickets are like annual, so you can just kind of go back anytime within that year you like. And I intend to, because I just loved it there. It was brilliant. And for me, I'm very, very fortunate. I didn't realise how close I lived to it, but it's just a couple of hours around the corner for me, which is really nice. So I've got a couple more things going in here. Adria says fuel was a bigger factor in halting the Panzers. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. And then Janetta said, finding you spray and that weirdly relaxing. Yeah, it is. It's a really relaxing process. I've had a lot of ups and downs with the airbrush, and for the first year, maybe a bit longer, it took me a while to realise that I was actually using the wrong sort of paints in them. So I buy a lot of Vallejo paints, which come in these little dropper bottles like that, but they've obviously got their own branding on them. And that fooled me when I didn't know, and I thought that because it had a dropper bottle, it was for applying into the hopper in this. And I was using airbrush thinners because I knew that's what I had to do, but it was just blocking it up every 10 seconds. Some paints flow better than others, so I was getting some luck out of it, and I just thought, oh, I just got to practice. And then I realised, I was using the wrong ones. So yeah, now that I know I got the better quality, the more appropriate paints, I'm having a lot more luck with it, and I'm enjoying it a lot more. But it still takes a lot of care and maintenance and stuff, and you should be flushing it out regularly, and then you've got to really clean it. And I can show you all the stuff I've got for that a little bit later on, and say if you want to know more about it, I will quite happily do a whole feature on it. So yeah, so what I'm doing now is towards the back of this tank. This is where like the access to the engines are. It's the primary way of getting into the engines from the top. I think you might be able to do it a little bit from the inside, but it would all be greasy and grimy and dirty here. And if I just put this 28 scale, 28mm tank here, you can see if I bring it to light a little bit closer, that I've just focused a bit more grime towards the end. Some stock footage of the Tigers, especially in Africa for some reason, were absolutely grotty. You'd think that it was almost a mandatory thing that they had to look after their tanks, but I suppose when you're out there in the war, in a prolonged battle or campaign, that actually there are more important things to be doing than wiping your tank down. But yeah, they were grotty. So I know that I don't want to make these too dirty, but I do like to focus a little bit of that shadow towards the back here. So there we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run it in creases. So on this front mantlet, if you like, where the front armour meets the kind of sloped armour here, I'm just going to do like a little line along there. Now, it's so small, it's very, very hard to kind of point where I'm talking about, but you'll see where I'm going to go. But I'm just going to kind of basically, just nice and gently, just a little bit, make sure I get a bit of flow, because sometimes the end of the airbrush does need a bit of a clean. Came out a bit fast there, but it's early yet, so it doesn't really matter. get a bit around that machine gun on the front there. This is where the driver looks out of that little slot, and if you can really see it, a little slot just here on the left hand side. So I just hit it with a bit of shadow in there. Cool, there we go. Make sure I've got a bit in the tracks there still. And I'm going to be going over all of this later anyway. So much fun. Now I see a lot of people doing, you know, YouTube videos and stuff. I've learned a lot from people on YouTube. There's a lot of people wear ventilator masks and stuff on them. I don't know if there's a need with acrylic paints. There are fumes in the air, but I don't think it's really that bad. But if you're unsure, you should probably wear one. I'm not. I'm taking that risk if there is one. Maybe I'm just not doing enough to warrant the danger of it. I've certainly never had any effects that I'm aware of. Maybe someone out there knows and goes, dude, you should be wearing a ventilator mask. I'll be like, oh, okay, cool, and I'll wear one. You do need to be aware of the amount of paint going into your airbrush, coming out of your airbrush, should I say, because when it gets towards the end, it gets a bit spattery, and it is drying ever so slightly in the nozzle here, and that creates a little bit of backflow, and then that dries and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And you can see that in the hopper, if you can, there's some bubbles forming in there basically, and that is just an indicator that it probably needs a bit of a flush. So sometimes I just give it a bit of a kick like that, and I've got here some cotton balls, and I just find them down into a point, and you can just put them in the end of the guard here, but that's just there to protect the needle end. If I take that away, the needle is exposed. These needles are really pointy. I don't think you can even really see it on here, but they're about 30 quid to replace it, and it's just a needle that runs the length in here. By pulling this trigger back, pulls the needle back, it lets more paint out, apply a bit of air pressure through it, and it kind of spits it out at the end. So if you bust that needle, and if you dent it even on a micro level, then it's ruined. I didn't know that when I first started doing it. I think at this moment I'm just lucky, but I've had a lot of practice. Yeah, and there was a little bung on the end of it of paint, and I've just pulled that away now. Yeah, and now it's flowing a bit smoother. Excellent. The reason that little guard's on the end is to protect the nib of that needle. If you're putting the airbrush down, you want to be making sure that you got it protected. So if I'm going to be finishing with it in a minute, I'll put that little protector back on. I never used to take it off. I used to, for cleaning, used to use cotton buds on the little plastic stick, but I don't like them. I'm an environmentalist kind of a guy, and I don't like the plastic waste. So I now just use cotton balls. I go through them much slower. Generally, I think probably because of the size of them. I just break a little bit off and it does it, and then when I'm throwing it away, I know that's waste in itself, but it's no unnecessary amounts of plastic straw bits. I think I will hit a little bit just in around all that kind of detailing on the top there. There's a couple of hatches that the driver and the gunner would look out of. There's a few tools and things that if I just kind of put a little bit of shadow on it, I can brighten it up as I go along, and that will just lend a little bit of depth to all that busyness going on the back, on the top, and then some more at the back there. And what I'm also doing is just using up the last of the paint in there. I'm going to go around the ring where the turret would sit, because when it's on there, you'd want a little bit of shadow on it. And then, of course, I've still got the turret to do. So, under here, I'm just going to go, not mental, but come on. Oh, I think I'm running out of paint. Yep, got nothing left in there. So what I will do now is just run a little bit of water through there. So I've got a couple of little refillable droppers, just clean water, and I just about 3/4 full up to where the paint roughly was in that hopper. And then I've got this little device, and this is just basically a trapper, like a little cleaning pot, and you just pop your airbrush in there. This is why you need your needle cover back on. Pop him back on. Can I do it? Here we go. And then just flush it through. And it is getting some bubbles coming back up the hopper here, so I want to watch that. I don't want it to flick everywhere. And that's telling me there's a little bit of blockage in there, so I might need to clean it out. I've left it locked too long. So let's just keep that going. Oh, it is flowing. There's probably a blockage a little bit further up then. There we go, and all the bubbles just suck out. Cool. Now, because that was a little bit, quite a bit more blocked than I expected it to be, I've got some airbrush cleaner from AK, perfect cleaner, and I've got a couple of different pipettes, and I can just take them out of the bottles and I just fill these ones up. I've got this one here labelled neat cleaner, and I've also got 50/50 water and cleaner. I picked this up from a YouTube tip, is if you're flushing through regularly rather than just wasting your very expensive cleaning fluid, it's just put about 50/50 mix in and then use your neat stuff for serious blockages or a proper good purge at the end. So I've got some perfect cleaner here. I'll just use it for my neat cleaner bottle. I'll just put a little drop of this in there. That just gives that water a little bit more potency for cleaning, and it just saves on wastage. Always have a paper towel to hand. There we go. I'll just give it a bit of a shake because I like to. There we go. Stick that in the hopper. Again, I'm just going to fill that up to about 2/3 roughly, I think, just so I'm not using up masses of it. And I also don't want this video to be 90% me cleaning an airbrush, which it could be. Yeah, still getting some bubbles coming up. Sometimes I can have the airbrush actually too far forwards in the pot. Stop showing me up in front of all my friends. There we go. And I'll just put a little bit of water through there because I want to get any of that cleaning solution out of there as well. So this is one of the downsides of having an airbrush, is that you just kind of need to be cleaning it regularly. There we go. I just spray it out onto the surface that I'm working on here, just to make sure that all the rubbish is out of it. And I don't want to be spraying anything onto the tank. Someone's put in the comments there, yeah, you might need to get yourself a pro paint shaker. Yeah, maybe. Right, cool. So I need a little bit of that dark stuff again, just to do the rest of that turret. I'm just going to put a couple of drops in there, not as much as I did earlier on, because anything that I don't use is just going to get flushed out. You can't really save it, which is a bit of a shame. So one of the things that you need to learn to do with an airbrush is quantities. Put the lid down and I've got a smear. There we go. Okay. Just a rubbish old brush, just for mixing it in the hopper. I used to use a little cocktail stick. Don't, it's rubbish. Use an old paintbrush, much better at it. Got a little bit of spatter there. Got a little bit of bubble coming up in the hopper, which means it's probably a bit of a blockage. I'll probably need to give it a bit of a clean out in a bit, which isn't a problem. It's not a problem. So, Luke, you said last week and this week you're painting your Sisters of Battle, and you said that you were practicing doing white. I saw your pictures that you put up on the Facebook page. How is that experience coming along? How's that process of learning white? Because it looked like a really good scheme, really, really simple, but less is more. Often is the case. The colour white really made the other colours on it pop, and I want to know how you're getting on. And is it a chore? Is it hard work to get that level out of it, or has it been quite a pleasure and just fun? That's what I want to know, because I've only ever done a little bit of white before. Bit of a bitty airbrush. So I'm just kind of, again, getting around the details, around some of the creases, and on that track that's on the side there. There we go. Now on the larger scale models, you can really kind of control where you want this colour to go, like around the hatches. You can get quite a fine line. Not the case with this. This is just kind of fire, and hopefully I get a bit more accurate as I get with the highlights. But also I've noticed that it's very difficult to kind of concentrate with the headphones on. I realised that there's actually quite a lot of audio cue that goes into this. You see the bubbles appearing at the top of the airbrush there? That just means that it needs a really good clean. Or that I've damaged the needle, which would suck. I'd put a bit of shadow. Oh crikey, got a bit of a snow cone going on there. The barrel is like in several segments, and I like to put a little bit of shadow on each of those things, just to kind of add definition to them. Let's get rid of this. What's going on there? Stop that. But I also like to make sure that the underside's a little bit more shadowed as well. I'm not really thinking about it an awful lot. I'm just kind of going for it. Here we go. Yeah, I've got a blockage in there. Right. Right, okay, let's just flush this one out, because it's being a bit of a pain. I might have to strip it down. That'll be an experience. At least it'll give everything else a chance to dry. So the games that I play with these tanks, I play two different games with the 15mm. The first one is the tanks game that was the first box set that I just showed you. That was the first one I learned about. That's really good fun. And it can get really quite technical. You've got like a lot of different cards in there for the different tanks that you have. You have crew cards, so you can have different people driving them. A lot of them are famous people as well, so people that that we know from history. There's also equipment and things like that, but you don't have to have any of those. All you need really is just the tanks and a tape measure and some buildings or whatever, and you can just kind of play. And for a really small and quite fast game, it's really quite tactical. I didn't really quite appreciate that when I bought it. I was like, wow, that's really quite a good fun game. So some games 10 minutes, other games can be 3/4 of an hour to an hour, and that's just playing with one or two tanks, maybe three. The box set was one Panther versus two Shermans. When I went down to the Plymouth Games Convention, oh, we've got someone, Colin Farrant. Colin Farrant has followed us on Facebook. Hey Colin, if you're watching us right now, thank you very much. We get a little. It's the first live announcement that we've had. A lot of it's been while I've been off air. So if you're watching Colin Farrant, I'm going to talk more about Colin Farrant later on in the show because he's quite an important person to know. But hey, cheers, man. Thank you very much, and I'm glad you're a part of the show. So yeah, when I went to the Plymouth Convention, incidentally where I met Colin, someone had set up a game for you just to kind of come along and play, and it was I'm fairly certain it was in 28mm, so it was using bolt actions, and there was a Panther at the back end, and then there were two Shermans in the corner, and it was just rock up, have a go, see if you can win either as the Panther, the lone big tank, or as the two smaller Shermans. And it turns out that if the Panther fires its gun, then you lose if you're the Shermans. It's all about maneuverability if you're in the little tanks. The other game I learned was because of Colin Farrant. Look at that, it all happened at the right time. Colin Farrant told me about a game called What a Tanker. If you have not heard about this game, go and find it now. It is the most entertaining thing I have ever played. It is just so much fun. It's very similar to I want to say it's similar to things like Gaslands, but it's not. It really is in a realm of its own. It's designed to be quick and really, really fun, and it doesn't matter if you are really into tanks or not, you will have a right giggle playing it. And it's just about the dice that you roll. You can have all the tactics in the world, but the dice represent the stress and the other factors that go into fighting in a war. You can't take your shot, for example, if you haven't rolled the dice and you get to load your gun. You can have your opponent's tanks all lined up and everything, the perfect shot. If your loader is being slow, represented by not rolling that number, then you can't fire your gun and you're probably out in the open. And it is just so much fun. That's a game called Water Tanker. You can buy a PDF set of the rules. It's really affordable, and it's by Fat Guys, I think. Fat Guys Rule, I think, is the name of the company. It's basically a couple of guys who just thought, hey, well, let's make a really fun game. And ever since I started playing that game, unfortunately, I've not been playing tanks, which is a really, really good game in its own right. But you've got to have a go at Water Tanker. It's brilliant, and it's designed that you can play it in whatever scale you want. They suggest that 28mm or 15mm, like I've got here, bolt action, or these tanks. I think they're from Flames of War, I think these little ones are from, is the company that make them. You just use centimeters or inches. Yeah, like seriously, it takes a little bit to get used to the rules. They're quite a bit different than what you're normally used to, and it is a bit more involved than what it looks. But have a couple of beers if you're of drinking age, sit around with your mates, because now you can in the UK, and have a go at that, because it's brilliant. Lucas put, it's been pretty fun. I started off batch painting them, but that was a bit of a drag, so I'm painting them individually now. Now that I've learned one thin coat, then is that 1 to 2 thin coats? Yeah. Is that using a contrast paint? Because I know that they do a white contrast paint as well, and obviously when that would pool into the corners, that would offer you the depth. I've only used a couple of contrast paints before, and I don't know how they all work. It'd be really interesting to know if that's what you're using. But yeah, if you're trying to get like focus on like a couple of miniatures and you're trying to batch paint like a whole squad of them, then I should imagine that's probably going to be quite a drag. Get rid of any brush strokes or thin places. Also with white, everything underneath it will affect it, so undercoats mean a lot. Yes, they do. When you're painting those light colours, yellows, whites, it really does. Means a lot, but it's a good way to get some texture. Slight red paint, water pink. Okay, cool. That's a really good idea. I've not thought about that. You could potentially even try making some like glazes and things with mediums, or just by watering down some paints and just kind of adding some, sort of blends and tones and things in there. But hey, your miniatures, you do what you want to do. I'm not here to tell you how to do that. Right, hopefully my airbrush is going to play ball. I seem to have cleaned it out mostly. See what happens. And I'm going to move on now to my next colour here. If I put this one back in here, I like to put them upside down so I know that I've done that colour. And then I'm going to move on to Dunkelgelb Dark Base. So this isn't the shadows anymore. This is, if I'm painting a bigger scale, I probably will start off somewhere in the middle and work my way down darker and then work my way up lighter. But it's such a small tank, and I'm a little bit out of practice, that I'm just going to work my way up from the bottom and get up a little bit lighter as I go. So I'm going to try and concentrate basically on all the areas that I haven't done, and then a bit of overspill doesn't really matter. I'm going to try and stay away from doing the tracks. I might hit a little bit underneath, and kind of like Luke was saying with his white colours, doesn't really matter if it shows through underneath, because it's going to offer a little bit of blend. Where you get an overlap of those two colours will hopefully offer a little bit of transition, because an airbrush puts those colours in so thin, as long as you're being careful with the trigger, which I'm probably not today, you can get some really good sort of transitions. But on a smaller model, it really is lost. I know that I need to really shake this one. You can get little ball bearings for dropper bottles. It's probably worth it. Oh, I've got my little timer coming up saying we're getting close to halfway point. So this one's all a bit bunged up on the end there, so I need to kind of clean my bottles off. But I'm just going to put a couple of drops in here. I'm going to put, say, about 6 or 7. A couple more for luck, why not? And then I will put a drop of airbrush thinner in there, just to make sure that they're flowing. I'm going to put a couple of drops in there because the other one was being a bit problematic and drying up super early, and I don't want it to do that again. So get my brush. Quite liking the music in the background. It's all royalty-free music, so if there's an algorithm out there, lay off. If it's distracting, let us know. I'll get rid of it, but I quite like it at the moment. It's quite nice because I don't have the company with Kyle, don't have that dialogue to go backwards and forwards with. It's quite nice to have something in the background there. We were talking about music and things a little while ago, weren't we? So this isn't the sort of music that I would normally listen to. This was just as close as I could get with a quick search on the YouTube audio library. It's quite nice, it's quite good. I don't know how loud it is coming across on your guys' end, but yeah, it's quite good. So, a quick test out here. Like you can see on the paper here, you can see the difference. I know the light kind of reflects off a bit while it's wet, but if I just kind of go around the outsides of those colours, you can still see that dark one kind of shining through. If I go heavier over it, I'll eventually cover it. So it doesn't matter if I go over. But here, if I just kind of do that there, it's a bit of a practice. And what I'm going to try and do now, rather than going in that crease where the dark shadow is I'm going to go over the kind of the raised corner on the top of that mountain that I kind of hit that whole area. And if I'm unsatisfied with the amount of shadow in that area, I can come back with the shadow colour later. That's fine. There we go. And what's happening now is, I'm going to go down that corner there as well, is it's starting to hide the darkness of the previous colour, just nice and lightly over the whole area. Focus a little bit more on the raised details. There we go, that's coming through. And like I say, I'm not really fussed how these turn out at the end of it. If they come out looking a little bit substandard, childish or rushed, it's a 15mm model. It cost me about £8. Have fun. Okay, a little bit underneath, just in here like that, just to kind of add a little bit more of a multi-tone to that darkness I got there. Now what I'm going to try and do on this bit on the back, because there's a lot of stuff going on, you've got the exhausts and these weird funny things on the back here and the mud flaps at the back, is rather than kind of spray directly on or even underneath, I'm going to spray down a bit of an angle. This is kind of going into the realms of object source lighting now, but what I want to do is use the angles that these lean off at as a bit of a cover to protect the previous colour. So I'm just going to be having a, yeah, that's quite nice. When this is all done, I'll put some photos up on the Facebook page so that you can see better than on the webcam here. That's looking really good actually. Quite happy with that. I'm just going to try and get a little bit along the skirts there without losing too much of the shadow that I've already put on. And again, like I said earlier, because I'm trying to make sure there's more shadow at the back, is I'm being a bit more liberal at the front on these corners here than I am down at the back corners down there. That's just become my little style. I think I kind of picked that up. Probably paid a bit too much attention to it from someone's tutorial on YouTube, but it works for me, and I try to stick to that. But it's quite hard doing it really accurately in a 15mm model. Now with the wheels inside, again what I did with the back, I'm going to try and do it with the wheels here, and I'm going to try and blast each wheel nice and softly at a bit of an angle so that we get a little bit of shadow. This works much better with a larger scale, but as I add more layers into this with other colours, hopefully the effect that I'm trying to get will shine through. Shine through, because that's come up really well. And now on the other side. If it was a larger scale model, I would actually offer more shadow colour on the wheels behind, but yeah, too small for that. And yeah, I'm trying to get this model done in a show. So he can just sit there for a minute. Quite happy with that, that's going well. Now for a little bit on this one here. I want to get the whole barrel done, but as I come towards the back, I've got a little bit of shadow going on these kind of lines here. If I bring it up closer, can you see? No, that's quite hard to see, but there are some little recesses here that I just kind of want the previous paint job to show through. So I'm going to go a little bit lighter there so that the previous colour comes through. And again on the back side. Wonderful. And on the top, making sure I've got a good flow. So every now and again I'm just kind of spotting on the on that paper there. I thought I had a bit of an air leak coming through my airbrush. It was the music. Wonderful. There we go. I'm not going to go too much over the colours that are already there, because as I add more highlights in there, I'll get more colours and overspill, and it'll all add to that effect. But at the moment, it's going really well. I'm going to try and see if I can get a little bit of this colour just in the back here, where it's all dark. I don't want it to all just be one colour, so just ever so slightly. I just practice getting a really thin, faint line on the paper, and then I just quickly bring it over. There we go. That's kind of cool. I like that. I'll do one more. There we go. Wonderful. Right, so I've still got a little bit of paint left in here, so I could just purge it out onto the paper there. Obviously, I want to be careful that I'm not going to get my hands all over that. But we are getting to the point now where we probably want to have a break. If you need to go and stretch your legs or get away from whatever it is you're doing, go have a refill on your cup of tea, then you've got a couple of minutes. I'm just going to crack on here, trying to get a bit more done, because time's passing really quickly, even though I'm by myself. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about a few other bits and pieces, and I'll see if we can get any more stuff done over here. So go get yourself a break, and I'll see you back here in just a few minutes. Cheers now. and I'm back. I hope that was the rest that you needed. I haven't rested. I just got through another colour. So the colour that I got through was Dunkelgelb base. So rather than being the dark base, it was the normal base. That started to really bring the colours together, and the trick really, especially with the airbrush, is trying to match your other schemes if you're trying to make them all look the same. So I've been using the other two tanks that I've got here as a guide and going, I need to go much lighter, so I hit it over the areas that I needed, and then a really thin filter, if you like, over the stuff that I've already done, and it's really bringing the colours up brighter. I'm now moving on to Dunkelgelb light base, but it's not about the painting that I'm doing right now. Normally at this part of the show I talk about community spotlight, and I talk about just shout outs for people who've got their own businesses and things like that. I've got no community spotlight to talk about this week. Sometimes people get in contact with me and they send me pictures and go, hey, can you put these photos up and whatever. Other times I just reach out to people because I see stuff online. I'm like, hey, that's a really cool picture, I really like what you've done, and then I ask permission, and I've asked several people, and in the absence of no one bringing stuff to me, just people have got busy lives, I suppose, and no one's really got back or replied in time for the show today. So I've got no community spotlight to talk about today. However, I do want to talk about shout-outs for businesses. Again, I want this to really be like a community hub for people. So if you have a business, especially if you're a private business owner, as there's a lot of in this industry, then I'm not bound by any kind of restrictions or laws or policies or anything like that that say that I'm not allowed to talk about anything. Then I am more than happy. I'm a consumer, I want to know about your stuff. So if you make terrain, if you make models or painting, or you provide a service or whatever, and you want a little bit of free advertising, hit me up. And if you know anybody who's got these businesses, then pass on the channel Easy 8 to these people, and they can get in contact with me, or you can do it for them, whatever, and I will quite happily shout them out. I always shout out about two companies because they're very close to me. The first one is my dad's business, which is Purple Lion Creations. It's got a website, purplelioncreations.co.uk, and he's also got a Facebook page, Purple Lion Creations, and you should definitely go over and have a look at that sort of stuff over there. It's all tailor-made, bespoke miniature terrain. So if you have anything from sci-fi, fantasy, Napoleonic, Civil War, Second World War, then he can make you buildings to your custom specifications. You go, I want it to be this size, this shape, I've got these pictures, make me that, or go for it, I just want something from this era. Then he is the man to go to, and he is always busy, he's always got stuff lined up, and I would like to, as part of this show, show some more stuff in greater detail, the stuff that he does. But you should definitely pop over, have a chat with him if you want to, because he's always at the computer if he's not working, and he's always got it with him there. So you can just get chatting, or have a look through the galleries he's got on his Facebook page and on his website. And the details for that are in the description to this video. And the other place that I want to talk about is Hostile Galaxy, which I've already mentioned a little bit about today. Hostile Galaxy is an online magazine, which is based in the States, by my friend Ruben. And the second issue was out just the other day, because it was brought out in the States and the time difference. I got a little message through on my phone about 5 o'clock in the morning going, issue's out. Okay, cool. So I purchased it then and there, had a flick through it. Man, it's a really good issue, and it's a really good magazine, and they have the same values as what I have running Easy 8 here, which it isn't supposed to be pretentious. It's not supposed to be anything that it's not trying to be anything more than just bringing people together, showcasing people's works, showing how to do it, and just the immense talent that's out there. And the magazine itself is just brilliant. It's really flashy, and it's, you should definitely go on to Hostile Galaxy website, and you should definitely purchase that magazine. Do it now. I have. It's brilliant. It's worth every penny you spend on it. It's not that expensive. It's only like £4 or £5, so you should definitely do it. So that's Hostile Galaxy. Another company that I want to talk about, and I've not spoken about this before until today, is Charlie Foxtrot Models. Charlie Foxtrot Models is someone who I know, Colin Farrant, hence CF, Charlie Foxtrot. He has worked quite closely with my father over at Purple Line Creations in the last few years, and he makes laser cut terrain for various games and themes and eras. He has a website, he has a Facebook page. You can also get in contact with him via email. The links to all of those are in the description of this video as well. And the quality of the work that goes into his products is just phenomenal, and a lot of people, I've heard it, kind of shoot a lot of laser cut MDF terrain down, but his stuff is just next level. I've actually had the privilege to go to his workshop where he's got 2 machines working constantly around the clock. Man, I tell you, you've got to go and have at least a look at his website, his Facebook page, and just go and see the stuff that he does. He puts so much effort into the design of these things. They are impressive to say the least. And I, when I've got through some of my models, I would very much like to buy one of his kits and do it up as a part of one of the shows here as well. And I'm hoping that, because I've just managed to get in contact with Colin today through the show, that he's watching right now, and that hopefully we might be able to have a bit of a dialogue going on in the future episodes on the Facebook page and whatever. And if you want to have some models to put together yourself that are user friendly and really pretty, then this is the guy that you want to go to. He has made technical pieces for Purple Line Creations for doing things like magnetic river sections and magnetic road sections, and he's just a whiz on the computer, being able to design all these little templates where magnets can all fit in. It's just he's a cut above the rest. So I really implore you to go and have a little look at Charlie Foxtrot Models. Again, the links are all in the description to that. So you might have noticed, if you are active on Facebook, that we've got and the new community page on there. I don't know what's going to happen with that over the coming weeks, months, years. I was speaking to Ruben about it just a couple of days ago, about how we want to proceed with this, and we're using it as a shared community group. So it's not like the Facebook page that we have for EZ8 or the Hostile Galaxy has. It's one where you can get more involved out of what you might expect a Facebook group to be. So we don't know if we're going to change the name, keep the name, going to do like a merge thing on it or whatever, but because our values are so similar in just wanting to bring people together through the world of the hobby world, we just thought that it was a great platform. And it was Ruben's idea, and he was like, what do you think? I was like, anything that offers the stage to people, then sure. So get yourself over to the EZ8 Facebook page, because there's a link to it on there. I'll be talking a lot about it throughout the week anyway. I'll do some little live featurettes and some comments and whatever. So keep your eyes peeled on that one. It'd be really good to kind of get a bit more out of it. So let's take you back over to my Tiger, and let's crack back on over here. Here we go. So the lightness of my model is starting to come back up, closer to my Panther and my Panzer. Oh, the show is not ending. We are not ending. Go away, you. Much better. God, I'm all fingers and thumbs today on the controls. I apologise for that. I do like it to try and be as professional as possible, but today I'm clearly having a bit of a day of it. If I come across as tired or a little bit dopey, it's because I'm tired and a little bit dopey today. My cat woke me up at about 5:30 this morning, and the day just hasn't given me an inch. So, but hey, that's what you get when you've got a live broadcast show, right? Is it just gets a little bit out of hand sometimes, and you just got to roll with the punches. That's what we're here for. Right, so we had some comments while we were away there. So Luke continued to talk about his Sisters of Battle here. It says, how I paint white is undercoat white or light grey. Then a super light grey, I use Ultraman grey. That I believe is a Citadel colour. Highlight pure white, and I use white scar, and shade with a dark blue. Less is definitely more. Absolutely, yeah. Adrian has commented, Luke sounds like how I did my Winter Guardsmen. I would like to see those as well. Please do put photos of those up on the Facebook page. Let's get looking at those. And then Dave has put, slowly working through my GSE, that's Genestealer Cults and Gasland cars. Yeah, Gaslands, what a game. Obviously, Gaslands don't actually make any models. The idea with Gaslands is it's just a rule set, and you go out and do what you want. So if you want to get yourself some 28mm cars, go out and do that and make them up. And the rules, it has templates for kind of moving your models around, and you can just scale them up and down. And it has like recommended scale sizes. But most people, and myself included, use Hot Wheels because they're the perfect scale, and I think they fall into about 1/64th, I think it is, which is S gauge if you're into model trains and things. And it's a brilliant game. It's one of those games that you think would be quick. It's not. But utter carnage. It has a rule, carnage, where if you can't agree on what happens, always go with the worst scenario because it's fun. It's brilliant, just racing around with little toy cars. Okay, cool. So I've now got my next. I'm just over halfway through with my color ranges here. It's going to get quicker because I'm going to be applying less now. So I've got my light base. Again, I'm just going to hit those edges for the highlights. Just trying to be a little bit more delicate as I go now. Not trying to saturate too much of the area. Again, paying a bit of attention. Oh, got a bit of spatter coming out of the end of the airbrush there. There we go. Raised details, not too much. Being a bit heavy on the old air there. Okay. And what I'll also do is I'll do a really light pass over the whole lot, again just to add a filter, and I'll just bring the whole model up a little bit more. If you can hear noises in the background, so I live in a shared house and this is just the studio that I've built kind of on a crappy old workbench made out of plywood, and it's a house share, and you know, other people have got other lives to go, and I, you know, everyone's very good about trying to be quiet or whatever, but you know, people got lives to live, so if you can hear it, that's just people going about their daily routine in the evenings. You may also notice that I don't have Christmas decorations up in my studio. That is a deliberate move today, not because I'm a humbug. I'm actually really into Christmas, family and all that. I'm well into it, but as it's a house share and this room is used for various things throughout the week, and the last couple of weeks and this week included, my housemates have asked to use the room. Normally I'd leave the studio all set up, but they need me to kind of strike the set down. So rather than just kind of put more stuff up just to take down straight away tomorrow morning, I thought I'd leave my Christmas decorations out for another day or for another week. I've got a little bit of a splatter spot on there, so I just need to get a little brush and just wipe that away. Just where it kind of shot out of the airbrush. I need a little bit of water on there. That might dry, that might be a bit of a problem. No, it has gone. Look at that, wonderful. So in the background you can notice that what is normally my backlight is blue. I just got it pulsing on some different colours for a little bit of festivity. But you know, I will get some decorations for next week if I can. I do plan to be here over the Christmas period as well. Obviously we've still got some sort of minor restrictions in the UK with kind of moving around, but this is kind of my job at the moment, and I do plan to be here. So if you're wanting a little bit of model enthusiasm company over Christmas, I'm going to be here on Christmas Eve, and I'm also going to be here over New Year as well. I'm trying to make my plans for that at the moment. So if you're thinking, oh, New Year's Eve's going to be a bit of a washout this year because of the pandemic, but it's kind of changed everyone's lives quite heavily, then I plan to be here right up to the last few minutes, and then I've got some ideas for future special occasions and all sorts of things as well. So, and if you've got ideas, drop them in. I'm all ears. This show is for you. I enjoy doing it. But if you go like, hey, actually it'd be really cool if you could do this, then drop me suggestions. I have my phone on me all the time if I'm not around on the computer. So if you want to drop me a line, I will pick it up no matter where I am. So if you're like, actually, hey, I'd like you to do like a whole show just on tanks, like another show during the week, I'd love to do that, but I'm not going to just start force feeding everybody something that they might not want. And you know, this community will take a long time to build up. So let me know. Kyle's just put a comment in there. I might make up some Badlands just for the fun of it. Badlands or Gaslands? Some Badlands. What do you mean by Badlands? Tell me. Am I just being stupid and not understanding? Cool, I took a little bit of focus and concentration. Oh dear. I'm trying to just go gently on some of these raised bits of detail here and try not to go too heavily into the track that's on the side. I want that to stay quite dark, like I've kind of got with the underside of this one here, like you see the tracks, just because it will help me. I'll use a paintbrush to kind of get those colours in there later, and I just want it to stay dark. I'm just trying to bring out some additional edges with this colour. I don't want to go too heavy. Oh, there we go, done it. And there's like a little fold on the front of this turret here. There we go, that's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Yeah. Right, I think I'm pretty much there with this colour. So it's all getting a bit quicker now. Yep, happy with that. The wheels are looking really good. And if I can never really see on my computer at this stage. Because all the lights are all bleeding out, but when I watch it back on playback, it's really clear. I don't know if it's clear to you, but the wheels have got like a really nice sort of gradual shadow effect going in there. And now I'm just going to purge this colour out because I don't want it anymore. There's only a little bit left in there. Bit of a blockage in there as well, so I'll just take the nib protector off and give that a little wipe over with a cotton bud. This is certainly a lot easier than my initial days with an airbrush, where I was just, oh man, I was just cleaning it out all the time. But that's because I was pushing something through it that probably I shouldn't have been. So, oh yeah, Kyle, damn autocorrect, Gaslands. Yeah, I did wonder. Yeah, it is Gaslands. Yeah, man, it's brilliant fun. Because I've got so many model kits to make, though I have a whole drawer full of Hot Wheels cars that I pick up and go, ooh, those, and my partner tells me off for it. I'm just leaving those until I get a decent way through all my other models. Because you can just put Hot Wheels cars on the table and just have fun, because it's not about necessarily what you've done with a model or miniature. It's about just the hilarity that ensues playing the game. Is brilliant. Dave says, I like the Mad Max look on the cars. Yeah, there are like different groups or teams, or equivalent to armies within the game, and they all have their different, it's very descriptive, and you can just kind of go along with the flow and do what you want with it. But you've got like Russian style sort of physicist Tesla car things, and you've got prison vans and speed freaks that are pretty much straight out of Mad Max, and they've all got their own different styles and things that they can bring to the game. I'm a fan of the Mad Maxy ones. Cool. But seriously, if you like Gaslands, play What a Tanker. It's incredible fun. Still drinking that god awful tea that I made earlier on. It's stringent, and now it's cold. Right, so that's the light base that I've done. I'm now moving into my two highlight colours. So the first one I've got here is Dunkelgelb Highlight. That says everything you need to know, right? This is almost going into the realms of whites now. That the final colour is literally so almost a white. It's yeah, very difficult to tell the difference. Well, it's not. I'm making that up now. I say the reason that I really enjoy the 15mm stuff, and it's the reason why I don't play bolt action, is because, especially in a small house sharing with other people, there's limited space. And of course, when you have another game that has a different theme, it's a whole different set of terrain that you have to play with. I play a lot of 40k. I haven't played a lot because of the pandemic, but it's my favourite game. It's always been there, so I really like it. So I've got immense amounts of stuff for that. Various different armies, and then I'm impulsive, so I make something, and then I have another box of this, a box of that. But if I was to go and play lots of bolt action, then I would need a whole other storage for all of the terrain that goes with it. First world problems, man. But with 15mm, it's so much smaller that it can just go in a box or two, and that just makes the storage for it so much easier. So that's why I really into the 15mm World War II. I just love the history of it. I'm really into the. Never was when I was at school into the history of that era. But the more I learn through playing games like this and making these models, I just find it really, really fascinating. I'm going to go over some of the source material I've got in a minute. It's fantastic. Okay, so now it's just a game now of just getting gentler and gentler. I don't even know if that's a word. Across the highlighter edges, and I'm just going to again apply a little bit of a filter over it, so I'm bringing out the lightness back in it. And then right at the end, when I've done all the highlight colours, I'm going to go back for that mid colour base and just apply a really thin layer, and it just softens off all the brightness. It doesn't undo the work, but it does kind of blend it all together, because it's the truest colour. So we've got like Dunkelgelb base. That is the platform color, if you like. So that's just a little tip I picked up from a pro. It's just to kind of give it like a little finish afterwards. Jeff has put, I did have a go at making a desert bluff quick and easy on Purple Lion Creations, I think. There you go. Head on over to Purple Lion Creations gallery and have a little look at the bluffs for Gaslands. Perhaps as this show gets bigger, more people are coming along, I can start maybe venturing into the world of sales, and I can make things and mold things, and it get customer or consumer input into them, and then create something that everyone can enjoy and get access to this. That was originally my intention with Easy 8, and then I realised that actually start right at the bottom and work your way up. So just trying to be really gentle. It takes all my concentration. And it's really difficult doing it with headphones on, knowing that YouTube is watching. I'm still reading from my mic issues at the beginning of the show. I've really got to stop doing that. I apologise again. It's one of those things. But, I make no beans about not being a professional. Not trying to be something I'm not. It's just one man with all the controls, and I forget things and miss things and mess things up sometimes. My apologies. So I think I like to do a little bit more on tanks as the weeks go on, because I've done a lot of stuff with Games Workshop and Tyranids, which is always one of my favourites. Over the last couple of weeks, I've probably oversaturated a little bit with just spore mines. So if there's something specific that you'd like to discuss or do or see about tanks, then let me know. I'll carry on doing this one here for a little while. I might do like some weathering on next week, because we're not going to get to that today, that's for sure. And the world of weathering with Second World War tanks, I'm going to show you my little range in a minute. It's just, it's a game changer. It's really, really good. You probably know all the stuff. You've probably seen it, but for those people who haven't, do you know what I'm thinking? As as I'm just sat here kind of musing away, I'm already impulse buying. I'm thinking about heading on over to Charlie Foxtrot Models. Thinking, I wonder if he does 15mm models, because I've only ever really paid attention to 28mm. Like because this is a new thing for me, 15mm. I've never really looked into it, so I'm gonna have a little look at his website later on, and I'm gonna see if I can find a couple of buildings or something that would look appropriate for World War II. Some sort of French farmhouse or something, and then I'll do it up on the show. That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? Make it, paint it. Oh no, went a bit too heavy there. Oh, that's okay. Because it might be that, though I don't think laser cut models are specifically designed for packing away, I wonder if you can make them so that they collapse away, so that you can store them flat. Right, I got those wheels dusted, probably a bit too much on one side there, but that's nothing to worry about. Okay, let's just purge this again, then we'll move on to the last colour, and then I say we've still got one more to do. We've got about 20 minutes left of this evening's show. That's the sound I was waiting for. Means everything's come out of the hopper. Stick a bit of water in there. It's all flowing quite well at the moment. I was starting to think at the beginning of the show I was going to have a lot of clogs, and it happens sometimes. I'm not the best at airbrushing. And sometimes it's more cleaning than it is painting, but today's going really well, which is nice because these paints are really good from AK. Like if you're thinking about it, I know Kyle, you're sat at home at the moment. You're just talking about buying some new models and looking at some new paints. We were talking about throughout the week, weren't we? I recommended Vallejo. Actually, if you're looking for some historical colours, these guys do historical and they also do fancy ranges as well, like bright colours and things. Have a little look. Look, some really good stuff. Cool. Right, so on to the final colour. Not my final step for tonight, but the final highlight colour. And this is just ever so slightly. In fact, I probably should just do it by brush, but do you know what? Risk it, right? Okay. Jeff says, I think you have it. Yeah, actually I do. I think I have a couple of your bluffs for Gaslands. When we were talking about designs a little while ago, weren't we? Perhaps next week or within the next couple of weeks, I'll dig them out and we'll talk about them and do something with them. And then Luke's put random mini side note on Kickstarter. There's currently some amazing looking minis there. If anyone's got a minute, check out the Shade Collection by 1985 Games. Carl's put feels weird to step away from Citadel, but I know there is better and cheaper out there. Citadel, I've said this before. Citadel used to make paints that I think, in my own opinion, were substandard to the level that people wanted. And people still use them. And people still like them, and if that's your choice, that's fine, but I didn't like them. But now Citadel's ranges, and they have for the last 5-6 years, maybe a little bit longer, have been producing some really fantastic paints. The pigments are rich, the colour ranges are really, they're really varying, and the especially when you add a little bit of water to them, and now that whole style of too thin coats is kind of permeated the culture a little bit. They go on so well. So I've got nothing against the paint itself. I just think that you don't get an awful lot for the buck that you spend on it, and that's a personal thing. So if I'm going to spend that sort of money, I like to get Vallejo, where I think that you get about twice as much for about half the price. That's not saying that I boycott Games Workshop. I buy their models all the time. I love them. That's a conversation in itself, isn't it? As well, is people say plastic crack. It costs so much, but we buy it. It's your hobby, right? Spend money on your hobby. It's what you do. It's what makes you who you are. I have a couple of hobbies, and they're all really expensive. At the end of it, it's expensive as much as you want to spend into it. You don't have to spend any money. You can spend all of it if you want to. This and other hobbies that I do are cheaper than, you know, if I was to play golf as a hobby, for the membership that I would pay to go and join a club to get all the the kit, and then just regular fees for memberships and things. It's not the end of the world to spend 20, 30, 40 pounds on a box set. If you're doing it all the time and you're not getting through your grey armies, then perhaps you need to have your spending gapped. Come and sit at this show for a couple of weeks and get through some of your stuff, and then be proud of the work you do. It's what I like about it is it's creative, and anything creative is I like being creative, and I come up with so many ideas, and in the middle of the night I'm like, oh my god, I've got to do this, and my partner's like, can you just shut up and just do something normal for a change, right? It's who I am, man. It's expression, right? But yes, Citadel, if all you've known is Citadel paints, stepping away from it might feel a bit sacrilegious. I've got your back, Kyle. I've spent recently about £200 on the Vallejo Air range. They don't do the full range of colours that they would do in their normal brush paints, but most of them are carried over into the airbrush range, and it's a phenomenal set. But because they're nice and runny, they're really good for brush as well. So I've been using them on those spore mines that I was doing over the last couple of weeks. I was using airbrush paints by brush. So yeah, if you like to go between using an airbrush or just a normal paintbrush, then consider maybe buying airbrush paints as well, so that you can swing between the two of them like I do. But I'm interested in this this company, or this game that Luke's talking about, Shade Collection by 1985 Games. If you got a second there, Luke, if you could just type up into the comments a little bit about it, what the theme or whatever, then yeah, that would be cool. I'm well up for Kickstarters as well. If there's anyone watching from that company, like maybe not be watching live tonight, maybe you're watching it back in a couple of weeks, months or whatever, and you just happen to catch this bit, then get in contact, because I will spread the word and we'll talk about it. That'd be cool. And it's one thing that I've really taken away from this week is we're actually starting to reach people. We're starting to reach businesses. We're starting to that network is starting to get out there, and that's all down to you and me on this show here on Fridays. So if you've been out there and you've been talking to people about it, when you're sharing the word, spreading the word, then people are listening and they're tuning in, or they're getting in contact with me, and that's something really, really special. We need to keep that up. So yeah, share, subscribe, do it now, please. So those of you who are painting, how is it coming on? Because we're getting to the end of it now, and I want to know how well you've got through. Probably put a bit too much of that colour in there. I got a bit pigment happy. Right, so that is the last of my highlights done. Now I'm just going to get that base colour, and I'm just going to go back over it, maybe where I've gone a bit too heavy with some of the highlight colours. I can just gently apply it and just soften it all down, because if I show you the tiger here compared to the big one, here's the panther, you can see there's a little bit difference. This one's a little bit brighter on a lot of those, and it has a lot more corners and edges, etc. That's where the panther is a lot more just slab. Yeah, it needs dulling down just a little bit. This one also, the details down a bit more because it's had some washes put on it as well. So yeah, I'm just going to dull that down, just going to clean that through. And we're probably into the last sort of 15 minutes of the show now. A bit of a wipe off on the nib there. Put that highlight away. Let's go back to Dunkel Gelb base. I was gonna do these German ones with all the different colour camo stripes. So they've got the red and they've got the green, which actually is Dunkel Grün and Dunkel Rot. They all are dark colours, but I wasn't so confident about my ability to do it, so I thought I'd just go with the yellow colour for now, because that was still a very common colour scheme in its own right, especially towards getting towards the end of the war. Paint was a real problem, especially at the end of the war. The Germans actually ran out of paint, so a lot of their tanks, were just red, the undercoated red colour that the metal came from the factory, and often they were just told to go and paint them themselves, and sometimes they didn't. Interesting fact, the insides of tanks, I don't know if it's still a thing nowadays, but in World War II, the insides of tanks were painted very, very bright. So like the film Fury, I don't know if it's just because of the way it's been filmed or whatever, was very, very dark inside that tank, probably to lend some sort of on-screen atmosphere, but they were painted really, really bright, like almost whites and things, because if you drop something on the floor you can't find it, so you need to be able to shine a little light in there and have the reflective surface shining back up at you. So yeah, if you go to Bovington Tank Museum and you're fortunate enough to look inside the German tanks, they're really, really pale bluey kind of white colour. Of course, you don't have to go to Bovington, you can just go on to YouTube, and I'll talk about some people who've got YouTube channels and whatever in future episodes, but there are some people that actually have managed to go inside the tanks at Bovington. It's very, very interesting. So I'm now just trying to get a very gentle application of this colour. It's working wonderfully. There you go. I've got a little bit of spatter on here where it's been spitting a little bit, but again, such a small miniature, not really all that fussed. I just have so much fun playing water tanker and tanks. It's brilliant. I was involved in a lot of online meetings, as I'm sure a lot of people were throughout the summer. And I was sat here with my housemate in the meetings together and just be playing the game on the side, but shh, don't tell anybody. Oh yeah, brilliant fun. Okay. That's looking really good. Yep, happy with that. So it's just about trying to double action. You push down for air, and then you pull back for paint, and more pushing or pulling, it gives more air or more paint. It's just trying to find that happy medium. Incidentally, my airbrush made by Harder and Steenbeck, a German company painting German tanks. Precision design, precision made, really good quality, love it. This is the Evolution. You can get the Evolution Pro, which just at the back here, if I was to take this little shield off the back, you can see that it's got the needle. This is the little grip, that's the spring inside. This little grip here on the Pro version protrudes through this shield, and you can twist like a little nut, and it sets a limiter, so when you're pulling it back, you can only come back so far to limit the amount of paint that's kind of coming out. So yeah, that was something that I considered getting as a bit of a dummy's defense about overdoing it, but I'm kind of glad I didn't, because sometimes you just got to learn by making mistakes. It really is the best way. I say, I was not shy of making mistakes when I started with this, when I was putting the wrong paints through it. It took me a long time to realise as well. But hey ho. I think we are pretty much done. I'm really happy with that. Wonderful. Of course, if you're just batch painting base coats, you just go crazy. It's important to not overdo it, because you can see that when I'm spraying onto the paper here, it's very easy to put a really thick layer down. So you still want to dust it, so that it's coming out almost dry, and that's what gives you that really, really thin layer. Again, like brushwork, you do a couple of thin layers, and you don't lose any detail, and it just gives you a really nice base level to work on, even if you're going over with brushes. Right, I'm just going to flush this through a bit of water and a little bit of neat cleaner, and then we'll just talk about some stuff at the end of the show here. Oh, a little bit of bubbling. There we go. Let's get some cleaner in there. Oh, got no cleaner left in that one. Let's use some of my 50/50 that I made up earlier. So when you're cleaning an airbrush, it's worth investing in a sonic cleaner or sonic bath. You can get them like made for jewellery and things like that, and some of them can be quite expensive. I picked mine up for about 20-30 quid, and it basically is a little bath. You put warm water in it, a drop of washing up detergent in there, and you can just set a time about 3 minutes. You can set it longer if you want to, and it just sends micro vibrations through the base of the bathtub it's sat in and all the component parts, and it just erodes away any particles of dirt, grime, tarnish, anything like that. Is almost a must if you're going to have an airbrush. I highly recommend it. Cool, right, so that can just sit there for now. I'll put him on my stand. I'll turn off the compressor. Compressor is turned off. Let's have a little look at this beauty. I'll move my painted sheet away and we'll go to the clean sheet. Okay, so here is my tiger. I'm really impressed with these models. I think they're wonderful. And here's the panther. You can see that the colours are pretty much identical. This one here is a little yellower, so I did go a little bit slap happy with the highlights on there, but I can always go over with another pass later on as well if I want to. And you can see that on these two the details are a little starker because they've had some of the washes. You got some enamel washes. I've got a whole bunch of them. If I just pan my webcam out, you can see that I've got all of these washes. I've got light rust, I've got track wash. I bought that one on a whim. Actually, it was one of the wrong things to do. That's actually for treating metal tracks on larger scale things. I've got mud, I've got pigments with pigment fixer, dark yellow, different types of wash or different colours of wash for doing different colours of tanks and things. So for the yellow German stuff, you would use that yellow one there. I've got brown blue, that's for doing the Panzer grey. I've got fuel stains, rust streaks, and then there's just general grimes. I've got slimy green grime, wonderful stuff. And then over here I've got some enamel true colours. These colours were made by experts in their field, and they have been brightened by a specific percentage depending on the scale drop. I've got weathering pencils. These, a lot of people praise these. I've been practicing with them. I've not had a lot of luck. I think it's just one of those things that I've got to practice with, but they're basically like a wax crayon, and you are moisten the end with a drop of water, and you can streak, do rust spots and streaks with them. I think it's just going to take me a lot of practice with those. I have played around with them, but I'll do some more of those in future episodes perhaps. So yeah, I've got loads of stuff. It's head on over to AK Interactive. It really is so much stuff. It'll blow your mind. So yeah, those are my I've now got 3 little German tanks. This is gonna be that's a beast to take on, to go along with my 2 Shermans over here. Of course, if you're playing a game with these, you probably want just 1 tiger and probably about 3 or 4 Shermans, because this thing here is just unbelievably badass. But yeah, there we go. It took me a couple of hours, got a model near finished. Next week what I'll do, I won't do anything to him over the week. I might do a couple of things like the tracks and whatever, but next week I'll come back and I'll do some weathering on them, so you can see some of the weathering techniques on that as well. That'd be great. Just coming to the end here, we've got Lucas said there's 11 cosmic horror theme minis, 28mm sizing, cool, mostly for tabletop roleplay games. The sculpts look amazing, and the ones they have planned I imagine will be of the same company. Excellent. I'm going to have a little look at those probably tomorrow morning, or maybe even this evening over a cup of tea. I'd love to see what new games are out there, what things people are coming up with. Fantastic. So let me come away from the workbench. Here I am, coming to the end of the show. We must be just a few minutes away. Brilliant. Normally we run over, but my timing's been good today at least. So I wanted to show some of my source material books. I've got this is a book that my dad bought me. This has been a Bible to me. So basically German tanks of World War II, and it's just It's all obviously just German tanks, but it's just pictures and pictures and pictures backed up with information. So you can see here good silhouette pictures. Probably should have shown you on the other webcam, but it is really, it's clear as day, and it's got color schemes, all the different camouflage patterns, various different tanks and vehicles like Hanemags, which are half tracks. You've got all the support vehicles in there from early war right at the beginning of the Second World War right up to the end of it. That book was really affordable. I think if you're in the UK you could probably get that from the Works. I think that one comes from. It is a fundamental, even if you're not going to paint it, go and get it. It's an affordable book and it's really interesting. And then when I went to Bovington, the tank museum up there, I also picked up another book. This was on the counter. I'm an impulse buyer, they get me every time. The Tank Spotter's Guide. This has got every nation that was in the Second World War, and this is more about giving you just simple pictures with a tiny bit of information on there, but it covers all the nations and all the variations of the tank, and it even goes up to some of the ludicrous stuff that the Germans were making in there. It even goes into semi-modern stuff as well. So that's Tank Spotter's Guide. If you're going to get into bolt action, or you're going to get into any of the 15mm games, these are really good books. I recommend it. If you want to know more about them, if you're actually interested, then I'll do like a little featurette during the week, and I'll hit it with all the ISBN numbers and things like that. But let me know, otherwise I will focus my efforts elsewhere. So some other tanks that I've got here. I've got, obviously you've seen the 2 Tigers and the Sherman in the 28mm that I've done. I've also got a Panther, which I've been doing up in snow colours. This one's a solid resin one, and frankly was an utter pig to put together. It was a real nightmare, but painting it is quite interesting because it's a German tank painted in the disguise of Allied colours. So I started doing whitewashing, winter whitewashing on him, but I had to get a very specific paint for that to do whitewashing, and I've not played around with it, so that's something I'll do in a future episode. I've also got a couple of Hanemags on the go as well. I really like doing all the Second World War stuff, and I learn a lot when I'm doing them. So if you're interested in doing some Second World War models, then let me know. And if you want, I'm quite happy to pick up a model of the one that you're interested in, and I'll do it along with you, because this is a community thing. I'm not here to teach you, I'm here to learn, and I'd like to know what you're doing and maybe do it as well. I've also got, and I have spoken about this before as well, 135th Panther, which was given to me as a birthday present. I held off doing it straight away because I thought I might do like a second show where I do like an hour or two of making it and so on. You can just kind of watch me just kind of build it if that's what you're into. Perhaps someone wants to learn what it's like to do a 135th scale, or perhaps you go like, actually, do you know what, I'm going to buy that as well, and you can do it along with me, and I'll make it and I'll paint it. And I thought, do you know what, maybe people aren't really interested in that right now, and I'll hold off and I'll do this one myself. I haven't got around to it just yet, but if you are interested in watching this being put together, then I will quite happily do another feature on it. I got a couple of days during the week that I can schedule an hour or two in the evenings, again like now, and I'll just dedicate it to making this model as well. That is going to be really good fun. It's really big. I can get a lot more detail into it, so I can go absolutely mental with all of the washes and the weathering, and really make it something more spectacular. This is going to be more diorama set, and I thought that would be really cool. And I was musing to myself just earlier on today, wouldn't it be fun to play a larger scale game, go to a model village? Yeah, sure, I'm up for that. Let's make that happen when we're allowed outside. Cool. So it's just been me talking rubbish all evening. I've got some painting done and I'm really happy with it. If you've got any painting done, or you're halfway through a project, or you just got a little bit done, then please show photographs, put them in the Facebook page. Head on over to Easy 8 Online Painting Club on Facebook, go to the community tabs, and you can drop in posts to your heart's content over there. Put in pictures. People have been going mental with that lately. Hit out questions, get some conversations and topics going, or whatever, and I find it all inspiring, and I can bring it to the show as well. So Adrian, there's one last little thing in there. How about a rat in 15mm? The rat is an enormous German tank that I don't think would have actually have moved if they had actually got to do anything with it. Do you know what? If I can find one, Adrian, if you can find me a 15mm rat, send me the link on the Facebook. I will buy it and we'll do it up. That is a project that I promise for you. In the meantime, I'm I've had a crack doing this one. So thanks very much for bearing with me through all my struggles with my microphone and making my errors and being really, really tired. I've had a blast. My name's Danny. This has been Easy 8. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again next week. Cheers for now.